So this session today is a sort of a follow-up, not completely, but something sort of a follow-up to what Frank DeLatorre shared with us last week, because we have received messages that the teaching and using the Hyflex modality is one that is makes us a little bit uncertain. Change, new things. We all deal with all of that, and so we're going to talk about the student perspective on this and how to adapt what we are doing and how we do it in order to support student learning and support our teaching as well. So I am Judy Somers. I help build courses in the Center for Online and Continuing Education, and I'm also an adjunct in the College of Education. And so I wear a couple of hats, and I love both of them. So here's here again is the poll that we started with. And so several of you mentioned introductions, their self-introductions, as well as their interactions with other students throughout the course. And that is a key piece of it, because many of the students in the courses are peers of theirs. They've been in other classes with them. And so the way that they share with each other is also gives you some insight into them. Communication, oh my gosh, communication, communication, communication. And I love the idea of an open door policy and being approachable. That is a key element for that. Asking a provocative question. I have some sort of a question on the screen from the time my students walk into the classroom. And then often it's something, sometimes it's something just kind of random, but often it is something having to do with a kind of a, I love the term provocative type of question that maybe gets them thinking about the content in a way that they wouldn't have already. And then our detailed introduction in the discussion board, and you can adapt those however you want. I love the statement, a matter of staying tuned and drawing them in. Of course, yeah. One-on-one meetings, office hours, projects that draw on their interest, and time and space for them to share who they are. And I love this idea of a safe zone where they can be themselves and express their thoughts and inquiries. And that is such a key component to what we are doing. So thank you for your comments in here. I am going to go into the rest of what I have, but know that there will be several other other questions come up in the Slido poll that we will see as we go through. Oh, good. There's another one. BioSketch, and invite them to share their questions, small groups. And when I ask them to post a picture, and virtual office hours for drop-in moments, Flipgrid introductions. Absolutely. I absolutely love Flipgrid. I record my own and then ask the student to do theirs, and then they react to each other's. And Flipgrid is at its most basic a video discussion board format where they can literally interact with each other, not in real time, but by seeing and hearing each other as they go through. So thank you for that. So I'm going to go on to the next. This is kind of a quick overview about what we're going to be doing today and how we're going to move forward. Identify our students' learning needs. And we've kind of started that, but then we're going to go into it in a little bit more depth in just a moment. So we know that they're here for a reason, and we want to support them in that. And so we'll think about different ways that we can do things that we can do to reach those students. And then we're going to take a look at some student feedback. I had the luxury of being able to do just a a short poll with some former students, nobody who's waiting for a grade this semester from me, but I'm gonna share some of that with you. So that's kind of the direction we're taking today with this. And so here's another, just a quick question, just to get some idea. Have you taught in Hyflex format? Now then, we are in what, week 3, starting week 3 of this semester. So if you are teaching in that format now, yes, you have. You definitely have taught in the Hyflex format. And so we've so far are at an even 50-50 split. And that's absolutely fine, because I'm hoping that you're going to be able to get some things that will work, some things, maybe different things that you have tried, and some other things that we can go with it. So most of those of us that are here, or 2/3 that are here, have taught in Hyflex or are currently teaching in Hyflex. Maybe you didn't last semester, but you currently are at this point. And that's absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine. So thank you for that. If you did not get a chance to respond, go ahead. I'm going to share all of these responses with everyone after the session. This is a point where I am going to invite you to either post a question or comment in the chat. What do your students need before mid-March? What are some of the things that you found? And we'll just ignore the other two for a moment. What did your students need from you, from your course, from the learning environment that they're in?
This is Teresa speaking.
Yes, hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. So mid-March, you're talking about when COVID rose. Is that what?
Just before. Yes. We were all going along, teaching, doing our thing.
Yeah. Well, I was currently teaching in Canvas, and so
Okay.
and the classroom. So the classroom obviously became closed. So I moved everyone obviously into Canvas, and they were pretty comfortable in the Canvas environment.
Sure.
But I shifted to then providing, lectures in WebEx, and
Okay.
And basically I try to carry the same kind of format that I had in the classroom to provide them some comfort. I didn't want to introduce a lot of new things at that time.
Smart lady.
Because they were already stressed. And so the things I provided also on top of the course were things having to do with, there was a great package from FAU. It was an emergency response package.
Mm-hmm.
Inserted that into the course for the resources, that they might.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of, I also set up virtual office. And that was probably the greatest new thing that happened.
Excellent. Great.
And with drop-in hours.
Nice.
So but it was also hard because everything was changing so much in the curriculum. The drop-in hours. I mean, I kind of fit and kind of didn't fit for some. So I then also created another opportunity, literally gave my phone number out on my phone for them to call me if they needed to talk. And only about 5 students probably took advantage of that. So yeah. I think that was the way I handled it at that moment.
Okay, excellent. Tim, do we have any other responses?
Yeah, there's a couple of comments in the chat from Mr. Vasquez, who says feedback in real time. Ms. LeConte is they want to feel connected and engaged.
Yep.
And Ms. Mavika, engaging lectures and reasons to come to class.
Absolutely. And so is that any different from currently what your students now need? How is it different now than what it was before we went into this? A whole different layer of needs, right, Dr. Scorman?
Lauren says they need it even more. Reasons to pay attention. Miguel, they are learning to get recorded or written feedback.
Yes.
Daily announcements and encouragement. We are communicating a lot more.
Oh my, yes. And with a lot more detail.
And Michelle says, I need to compose detailed instructions on assignments.
Yes, absolutely. All of the above. Okay, so considering that we have a pretty good image picture of what they need currently. So Hyflex format, just as a quick overview on it, is or at least for purposes at FAU, definition at FAU, is when you are in a classroom with some percentage of students live in the classroom and some percentage of the students online via Zoom or whatever format you are using. And so what do they need? And my little icon there is has to do, Michelle, you'll appreciate this, balance. Keeping things in balance. So what are their needs now if indeed we are teaching in a Hyflex environment? What are their needs?
Michelle says assisting face-to-face and online students to communicate as if everyone was face-to-face.
Right. Okay. Or everyone was Zoom, either way.
Teresa added they need more encouragement, more mental health support, and support a sense of can do this.
Yeah, and absolutely. And the mental health support, we've had one session when we first started this on providing that initial mental health when we were all going, oh my gosh, what's next? And Michelle Tapania, who is with us today, will be doing another one. And I believe it's somewhere mid-March. So yeah, so that you'll be hearing more about that.
Evelyn says, if not in the classroom, the feeling of being 100% in the classroom.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You've got some great ideas, friends. You have some great ideas. I'm assuming that those responses came from those who have been in the classroom and recognize where we need to go with this, as well as those who have not, So based on that, and I think we've kind of had a conversation about it. On this, I'm just going to ask you to put a 1 or 2 or 3 word phrase in here, and you'll see how it pops up. Interact through Zoom or whatever your medium of choice is. Listening, absolutely, absolutely. Zoom polls. This is Slido, and it's a very effective polling tool as well. You also have access to the information when you have finished with the poll, just as an FYI. Canvas messages, yes, email and discussion board. iClicker questions, wow, that's interesting to me. If we are still using iClicker, that's great. Phone, email, Zoom polls, real-time feedback. Yes, because that is indeed exactly what they need. They need to know almost on a moment-to-moment basis, although it might be a little not quite that instantaneous feedback, but they do need to. They need to know how they're doing, and as well as we need to know it also. So, any other comments? Interactive whiteboard. I like that. I've played around with it, but I have not actually done it in a class. So that's on my that needs to go on my bucket list. And learning guidance. And I apologize for skipping over that earlier. They need to know, I mean, basic learning skills, most of them have had to some degree or another, but everything is different now. So managing to help them move from here to there and still accomplish what they need to accomplish. I like that. Excellent. I have found some articles that had some really interesting comments. And what intrigues me is that I have a feeling for in the immediate future, as well as more of a long-term future, we're going to be seeing a lot of research come out of this. And that's an incredible thing to see happen, to see where all of this is taking us and how. And again, this was some of the same comments that you had in yours, that the one thing that's key is being able to stay connected with my students. And of course, engagement is something that that helps everyone. That particular one is from someone that teaches some special needs courses, and so the format, it definitely helps everyone. Sense of personal engagement and connection through deliberate action of live dialogue. Student perspectives, and I took the opportunity to reach out to former students, not anybody that's current student, but former students, to get some ideas about their thoughts about some of this. And some of these things are things that don't necessarily reflect the Hyflex, but are definitely a part of just good teaching. But with the students, now the students that I had last semester, my classes were completely synchronous. However, many of them had Hyflex type of classes in the rest of their classes. So they were speaking from a certain amount of experience in the fall semester. And so, and most of this is given. I know I'm talking to a group of really high-level instructors. So I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but value them as people. They really are, and they're there because they want to know about something in the field, and you are the expert in the field. So share your stories with them. Let them know that what they bring to the table is important, what you bring to the table is important, and your stories will connect with your content and will help them connect both with you and with the content. Recognize and appreciate the variety of students and student ways of accomplishing what they need to accomplish. Recognize and appreciate all those differences. And we've talked a little bit, several times already, about the whole communication piece, keeping those communication lines open and making yourself available. Several of you commented about an open door policy and a safe zone. I love that phrase. And talking about drop-in times. There was a phrase that I loved in one of the things that I had read about that, just being available to drop in. And make yourself, you will hear from us in multiple different ways talking about humanizing the online experience. They want to connect with you. They want to know that you really are a real person on the other side of that computer. And of course, if we're doing Zoom meetings, we'll see that and recognize that, and know that you are someone that they can connect with. Just like I had Miss Kitty on my lap over here a little while ago, and then she got tired and went over for her nap. But so the helping struggling students is one of the things that we always know that we need. And these are, by the way, information that came from the students. I rephrased it, you know, the way they said it, but I rephrased it to show, you know, to demonstrate what they were, you know, what they were actually were saying. But you're a real person. You may wind up sharing some humorous stories, and that's perfectly okay, which is not to say that we want you to make light of your content, because that's not the point at all. But knowing that, you know, I teach pre-service teachers, and there isn't anything that comes up in the classroom that they don't want to know. Yeah, but how did that work in the classroom? And so that's the kind of things that actually that you need to make sure that you can bring out to them. I've got in there, get feedback from the students. Ask them, what can I do to help you? How is this working for you? What else do you need from me? How can I make this work for you? And then do regular check-in points. We have mentioned several times to do a mid-semester check-in. I would say you might want to do it a little bit more often than that. Just how's everything going? Maybe even that opening time. But I would say reach out to them. How's it going? What can I do? What are your needs? So this page is from some of the research that I've found actually within the things that have come out within the last month. I even added something that came through and something I saw today. So we're on the we are on the cutting edge here. But these comments all came from as suggestions from other faculty members who have been there and are sharing some things that work for them. So just as we said, personal examples. How does that work in the real world when I'm actually out there doing whatever it is I'm learning how to do? So putting variety in your instructional format. One of the articles I read even said, because many of us have a Socratic approach and ask lots of questions. And one of the suggestions in there, which I thought was great, was to do different, have your questions come up in different formats. Break them into small groups and let them talk about a question. Ask individual responses. Let them know that however they want to interact with each other as well as with you is perfectly okay. So change it up a little bit. Make it a small group. Make it 2 larger groups. The next one down there is a chat monitor, and I thought I heard a colleague mention this, and I thought it was a great idea. I think the colleague was referring to large classes. I'm going to say it doesn't even need to be a large class. I know that I do not multitask. And so if I can ask so-and-so, ask one student to just keep an eye on the chat for me, similar to the way Tim is doing for it right now. I know that I can't balance all of that at once. So assign someone a chat monitor. They'll be glad to visit with you and make sure that happens for you. That pre-class time is also important. It's an informal time. It's a time you can chit chat with them, maybe about the content, but not necessarily. And seeing that this is something that we can talk about. Like I said from one of the comments in the first Slido, is that I've anytime I teach, I have a question or something on the screen when they come into the classroom, something for them to think about, whether it's a virtual class or a face-to-face one, something to think about, something to really focus on. Structure, and we're going to talk about structure more in just a moment. It's important for you to maintain some semblance of your own personal structure format, but it's just as important to the students so that they know that this is how things are going to go. And I have something to show you in just a moment on that one. Oh, they're pop-in sessions. That was what I was talking about. The office hours, the idea of a pop-in session or a drop-in session. Let them know that you're there if they want to come in and ask a question. I've always had 1 or 2 that drop in every time it's open, whether they actually have anything that they need to discuss or not. They just want to touch base and see how things are going with me, and I see how things are going with them. These last 2 are things that everyone has their own unique perspective on, but the idea of respecting their privacy If you're not going to require the webcam to be on, which most seem to not necessarily require that, ask them to post a profile photo so that we can still see what they look like, and turn their mic on when they're going to speak. And the respecting their privacy is a really a key important. The only time I ever require a webcam to be on is if they are making a presentation of some sort. Then it's just as if they would be making a presentation in the classroom. They have to look professional. They have to present in a professional manner. And so they always know that they need to have the webcam on for any kind of a presentation. Otherwise, it is a personal choice as far as I'm concerned. But as I say, that's everyone's own perspective on it. I usually say if they, thank goodness I never got assigned one of those time slots from 7 to 10 at night, because the students would have to wake me up to send me home, I think. And by the same token, when we're teaching early in the morning, these are 18 to 24-year-olds in many cases, and they may not be quite as ready to share themselves with the world at those times of morning. So it's a matter of a personal, again, the humanizing approach. Any comments that we need to address, Tim?
Yeah, there was a couple comments from Teresa. Said that posting the agenda as an announcement helps students prepare.
Yeah.
Evelyn also says that to know the benefits of embracing diversity, nurturing skill sets that only they have to offer.
And letting them know that you acknowledge and truly appreciate that. That is really, and I like your comment about the agenda. I've got the next item that I wanted to share with you has to do with that type of thing. This is from an article that I found having to do with the setting up so that they know the expectation. Now, this particular one has to do with the information, the way they put it in Canvas. And but in my mind, I was thinking also perhaps an agenda, depending on how how structured you want to feel with it. And so, and this is based on a survey that this professor took. And I think he said it was at the end of the spring semester. And of course, the things that make it most successful is the instructor. We all know that. That's the determinant for student engagement, without a doubt. But beyond that, they wanted to be able to go into Canvas and know where to find exactly what they needed. So simplicity and being able to navigate through the course were important. One of the other things he said in the article was even that he has found it beneficial to remove content that wasn't necessarily as critical as some of the other things. So, and this was a page right out of his Canvas item. The top part of it, the something to think about, that is where you give them that pedagogical background. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And this is the reason that this is a topic that we are covering. And then what they needed to do before their synchronous class meeting, when to join and how to join that synchronous class meeting. And then, and as you said, perhaps even sending an agenda, including an agenda, or at least these are the topics that we'll be covering today. Then another to-do list for after the class meeting, and then a listing of what I'm turning in next week. And this is in a little bit more detail than many of our classes. On the other hand, I've also had some classes go through that included this format, this way of saying, here's what we need to do now and next and then on. Any comments on this?
Judy, there was another comment from Michelle. Another way to connect is to acknowledge above and beyond efforts. And she gives the example that there's a student taking her class from Nigeria, and he's on the live Zoom session at 11 p.m. his time. So they all give him a shout out. Teresa also comments that one of the things she realized in planning a Hyflex course is to keep in mind that less is more.
Yes, exactly. All right. And so this is just a quick comment about my checking in point. About the check-in points. They give us an opportunity to adjust what we're doing in order to meet their needs, and to let the students know that we're listening, that we are willing to do what needs to be done in order for them to be successful. It just doesn't get any better than that. When I know that if I can talk to my instructor and say, you know what, I need this and this in order to make that happen. You know, it's just often it's little things, really, really little things. I had a couple of students last semester that had to quarantine themselves, and just talking with them about, so how are you handling this and this, and what, you know, what are you doing to make this work for you? Just getting to know them and getting to know what their needs are. So those check-in points give us that formative assessment piece. And one other thing that came from my questioning with the students who had been there. So my question was, if indeed someone asks you about whether or not they should take a Hyflex course, and what your response would be, and they said yes, based on several components, several things that are a part of it. If indeed it's someone who you know the professor, then of course you know how they teach, you know what's going on. We have someone who I have heard said about him that when his online courses open up, they fill up within about half an hour. And so he has a lot of students that are waiting for him to jump in with whatever his next wonderful topic is. So if you know the professor, know who it is, and know what their teaching style is like, then certainly, Hyflex would be a really good opportunity. If you are comfortable in either the online environment or face-to-face with mask and the various components of that, if that's a situation that you would be comfortable in, most of our students have definitely at this point now have had opportunities for the synchronous classes and can see how they work, and they really do work out really quite well. So if that's something that gives the student, I have an opportunity to meet with a young lady who is in anyway, one or the other, I don't remember at this point, but she said, no, I'm not, I don't do online. So I had to drop out of school for a little while until it goes back. And me being me, of course, I kept trying to encourage her and say, hey, each one is different. Each person is different. You might give it another try. So I don't know if she's going to or not. But they also said that if the person who asks knows that they can handle flexibility, can do things back and forth, and be ready to jump in and do something a little bit different than the norm, if we're flexible, have that that open mindset to be able to try something in a different way, and which takes us to open. That's that mindset that is positive and ready to go through and try it. So that was their words of wisdom, their advice to a peer who might want to know about the ins and outs of taking a Hyflex course. And so this I I love. Again, humanizing the online courses. Sure, our world has changed. The classroom has changed. We're physically distanced and we're masked, but never forget the power of human connection. And you all have said that right from the very beginning of this session, is that it's that human connection that makes all the difference in the world, no matter what format you're teaching in. And so I am going to let you, thank you. I'm going to let you go back into the Slido and respond to this question, and then I will come back to it, because to honor the questions that have, a couple of questions that have come up, I'm going to jump on to the next slide and say, are you interested in more? Well, guess what? We are taking care of that with you. There is actually coming up next week is a session that Emily Frank is doing on student engagement. And she's actually going to be discussing some of the tools that really, really are wonderful for engaging sessions. But we also have a panel discussion with several members of our faculty who are willing to share some of the possibilities. Like I said, the good, the bad, and the even better. We had an interesting discussion with some of them just last week, and they are willing to join us in a panel discussion. I don't have the date set at this point, but I can assure you that everyone that's here will definitely know that. And I will stop sharing and let you know how much I appreciate the fact that you have joined me today, and I acknowledge that I appreciate the time that you were willing to spend with us today.